Should be going live now. That's live.
Okay, it's January 16th, 2025. It's 6:32 p.m. And this is a meeting of the Facilities Committee. We'll start out with introductions. Luke?
My name is Luke Johnson, Network Administrator.
Lisa Raymond, Assistant Superintendent for Business.
Dennis Pugliese, Director of Facilities.
Steve Boynton, PTA President.
David Warner, Board Member, and we have another Board Member coming in.
Chris Vallon, Board Member. Currently, Elizabeth.
And on the screen, Mike,
Michael Messina, BBS Architects.
Francis,
Fran Melito, 7 Engineers, Construction Manager.
Katie,
Sorry, Katie McGee, parent of a 10th grader.
Gabriella,
Hi, good evening, everyone. Gabriella Barahona, mom of 3 boys, 5th grader, 3rd grader, and kindergartner.
Carol,
Carol Allen, community member.
anybody I missed? Okay. So we're going to go over the water main science lab vote is the second item on the agenda. You want to bring that up?
Hold on 1 second.
At a special meeting held on 11/13, the board agreed to the facilities committee recommendations to partially complete the water main project while renovating all the science labs. The water main project adds fire hydrants and increases water flow to acceptable levels for existing hydrants on the Woodlands campus. The science lab project renovates all 9 science labs at Woodlands Middle High School. On 11/19, the board voted to have a public vote to authorize the release of $8.2 million from our capital reserve fund for the purpose of handling the water main and science lab projects. Estimated costs are $9 million for the entire project, $7.4 million for the science labs, plus $1.6 million for the water mains. Funding is $8.2 million from the capital reserve with an additional $0.8 million previously reserved for the water main project. Releasing the existing funds has no effect on the district tax levy. So we had the vote on the 14th of January and the unofficial vote tabulation, which will be official once we have a board meeting, okay, is yes votes 319 and no votes 34. So thanks to everyone who helped to get out the vote. We really appreciate it. Yes. The next steps for the science labs include detailed design work, submission of plans for approval to NYSCD, a bid process for the project, and 2 phases of construction during this, I thought during the summers of 25-26. I believe there has been a change to that. Michael, would you like to tell us what's going on there?
Sure. So first of all, congratulations. I know everyone worked very hard to get us approved, and I'm glad we're moving forward. So yeah, I did some investigation work as far as lead times go, David, and I sent you an email earlier. I don't know if you saw it, but just to briefly outline it, now that we have the funding source secured, we're now in a step 1, block 1 for a design process. So first steps would be actually to go out there and send teams of architects and engineers to do their field work, field measuring, and create a real good set of as-built drawings of the spaces. Unfortunately, we don't have good drawings as backup to go back to. So, that's going to take a little bit of time. There'll be some drafting involved to get those backgrounds accurate and correct. And then once that's done, we'll start the process of design. So, that initial phase is going to take a couple of weeks to have completed. Once we get into design, a project of this size, typically you're going to have anywhere from 2 to 4 possibly design meetings with the group. Whoever's assigned to the group, I'll work with Dennis to determine who that is. But typically that's usually the building principal, maybe the director of science, maybe some select teachers. There'll be someone that has to be able to make decisions and provide the programming information that we need to create the new design. So we'll go back and forth a couple of meetings. There'll be some preliminary drawings done. The design development is the official phase that we call the design in. And that will also can take quite some time. In my experience, depending on how many people and who's involved, it can go anywhere from 3 weeks to 3 months. But it all depends on how we progress and how decisions are made to get that final layout done. So once you get that done, now you get into the CDs, the nut and bolts of it at all, and that's going to take some time as well. So typically projects like this, to make a summer schedule, you're going to be up at SED the year prior due to the lead times that are at SED. Now, currently I checked back and they're around 14 to 16 weeks for architectural review. They're at 10 to 12 weeks for engineering review. So that'll get you your technical review completed. And then fiscal review is anywhere from 1 to 4 weeks, depending on what the project manager's schedule is like up there, before you see a permanent in hand. So that alone, to try to squeeze this into a summer 25 project is nearly impossible. On top of that, the other portion of a science project that has the longest lead time is the casework. So I reached out to a few vendors just to see what the lead times are with that. And just understand that, they have, once we give them drawings that this is what the design is based upon, they have to go in and do their own shop drawings. And they get really into the nuts and bolts to every, screw and whatever that needs to be provided with the drawings to create the design. So that can take anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks for shop drawings from the manufacturer through the whoever we select. And that can be separate. We don't have to go out to bid. There's contracts that Lisa can write a PO off of to make that happen. So that can happen while we're getting reviewed at SED. You have a review time in there for us to review the drawings, approve them, make sure everything's good, review it with you guys. And then fabrication for casework currently is running anywhere from 10 to 16 weeks. So in order to get casework in for the end of August, you have to have the order in place by sometime in mid-April. So we're in mid-January. That doesn't leave us any time to get through the design with you guys, get the drawings done, get it up to SED, get it approved, and then have it locked in for a schedule of getting installed sometime in August. It's just nearly impossible to happen. So unfortunately, we're going to be looking at a 26, 27 summer schedule, unless whoever this committee winds up being with the design. We don't even know at this point what rooms we're going to do first. I'm presuming, we're going to have some input onto that to make some sense of it. But constructability, we really should bring in at that point, your construction manager, 7 engineers, let them input as well, the timeline, the construction, how much can we get done, how many weeks are available. It also gives you some time to review with the department to see if there's a way to possibly get in there earlier than June 30th to start maybe some of the abatement and demo work that needs to be done. It can be done overnights to at least give up those programs or those rooms that the kids are going to give us more time to construct than just that 10 to 12 week window you have in the summer. Francis could probably talk to it even better than I can, but I've done enough of these projects too as well. That that summer you really have to be on the ball. Dennis has to make sure the rooms are empty, make sure that we're ready to rock and roll, get the work done, and have everything turned over and ready for when the kids come back in September. So there's just so many moving parts right now to try to hit that summer of 25 construction. Like I said, unfortunately, it's nearly impossible to do.
So I believe we scheduled our special vote such that we would be able to get this project done in 2 years instead of 3.
Based on their advice.
Yeah, based on what you told us several months ago. So this is a disappointment. I'm wondering if there's some way that you can make it take 2 years, whether it takes longer at the beginning or not, or if you do more of it all at once. If there's some way to fix this such that it doesn't leak out into the last year. Chris?
You've said much more kindly what I was thinking. I just want to clarify, all the things you're talking about is specific to the science part of the project, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And again, I don't want to repeat what David just said, but we made decisions based on the information you provided us as far as vote.
So we can do the construction over a 2-year period and finish in 26. But we would have to have the rooms available to work probably more than the summer period, right?
We specifically were talking about having things done in a time frame so that we could have work done this summer. That was like the specific point of that conversation or two. So I'm just repeating David's kind way of expressing disappointment with what we're hearing right now.
Yeah, I don't recall and ever saying that we were going to do the start of this project the summer of 25. I said over 2 years, meaning you guys could pick the years that you're going to do the work if we had the funding approved now, if we had the funding approved the following year. But it was always meant to be a 2-summer project. You're just at that window point of no return where you can't get approvals in time to start the work this summer. We can't design tomorrow and get this. I don't want to rush the design with you guys to try to get this right. And even then, you're still not going to be having all the material arrive in time. So,
Dr. Allen?
I'd like to suggest that we stop talking about where we would like to have been and focus on where we are now and set a firm timetable of where we want to be at each point in time so that we can start the construction at the end of the school year, next year. All right, because we can't get it done this year, but we need to set a timetable so that with the delays that we know are going to happen, we will be ready to start basically on June 1st of 2026 and then get as much done during that summer as we possibly can.
Are there any other comments? Okay, so take those durations and put it to a calendar, make a schedule and give us a schedule.
okay. It's going to be tentative again, like I kind of gave you an outline right now what the schedule is going to be, but it all really depends on how quickly we get through the design phase of it. Like I said, I've seen it go sometimes very quickly, and sometimes you've got people that come to the design meetings with the group and have different ideas of what they want, and it takes a while for the decisions to get made by the district or by the parties that are making the decision. So I don't even know at this point, Dennis, if we know who it's going to be, but we should start thinking about that. And we can, that'll help with the timeline too a little bit.
Jen Belfiore, and a couple of the other teachers, probably in Mr. Smith's choosing.
Possibly someone from you.
Yeah, well, obviously. Okay.
So when will you reach out to make that meeting?
Well, the first step is that, like I said, we have to really get the as-builts, done and do our investigation. So that's going to take a little while to get that drafted up and drawn. I don't want to have a meeting with nothing to sit in front of and look at and lay out. So that's going to be a little bit while. So it probably won't be until after the first break that you guys have in February. And then I'm hoping that it gets done before the next break, which would be the March or April break. I think we have a later break this year.
I'm just
That the design is finalized. It's what I'm thinking, just high level in my head, as far as the design goes.
Can you
So,
set some specific dates, target dates that we want to meet instead of speaking in generalizations? Because if we don't have specific dates, we're not going to make it.
I'll put specific dates down. That's not a problem. Absolutely. But
Okay.
again, you're dealing with several moving targets. So we'll do the best we can. Absolutely.
Okay, because if you're roping in the building team, they have to find, if it's going to be during the day, they have to find sub replacements, et cetera. This, you can set, hopefully, knowing that you need possibly X amount of time, you could call tomorrow and set that date on the calendar for 5 weeks from now, or what, 4 weeks from now, whatever it is, because it's gonna be hard for them to make arrangements, most likely. Oh, shut up.
so we're looking at the week of the 24th is the February 24th. Is the week after winter recess. So you're gonna make your drawings and try and schedule something for that week, and our job is to have
It might not happen that fast, David, because we need times when the building is unoccupied. And I was hoping that week of the 17th, I believe, on February, that we can send people out that entire week when the building's unoccupied. I think the 18th, 19th, and 20th, Dennis and I were talking about, to go out there and send the teams out to do their investigations, drawings, measure, whatnot.
Right.
And then there's going to be some time there to draw up everything. So you got to give us at least a week or two to get that prepared, to have drawings ready, to have a meeting. So
How much of your
again, I'll look at
team's
the
work can be
calendar and
done?
I'll schedule dates. That's not a problem.
How much of your team's work can be done after hours when the students aren't actually in the classrooms?
Finally getting to start the 4-week classes, are we?
It's you get a day, a room done at a time. Possibly, it's a lot more efficient if we're there for the whole day, from 8 to 5 or whatever, and we can really knock out the building. But there's a lot of eyes that have to go out there, in different sequences. First we have to lay out the floor plans for the engineers, and then the engineers will go out there and look at the infrastructure and whatnot. So there's a sequence to it. There's a process.
And it starts this 3 to 4 week. No.
I wish there was a quicker way to do it, but unfortunately, we haven't done any major projects in that building. We don't have any drawings, and unfortunately, it's just going to add time to this, that we have to verify what's out there. We have basically a key plan of the building, but there's no elevations, no sections, no nothing. So we're going in there and we need time to investigate everything.
School's closed on January 30th.
Okay. I'll make a note of that.
Sorry, the 29th.
Okay.
And if we have any conference days when the students aren't in the building, we could use those also.
We're closed on Monday, the 20th. We have reduced student population the few days after that.
I'll check with Dennis on the dates, and we'll schedule it.
Okay, so you're gonna submit your schedule to us and we'll move on. The water main. Water main project design has already been approved by NYSED. There will be a brief approval process for a revised scope. Next steps are completion of a revised bid process and construction beginning this spring. We should also consider the scope and timing of a second project to finish the water main. So first of all, this spring is valid, correct?
Yes.
Okay, good. Now, recommendations for a 2025 budget. So we're cycling through, getting close to, we're planning out our budget for next year. And Lisa told us back in December, after we had scheduled the vote, that we got $1.6 million from the American Rescue Plan funds that came back to us from phase 1, right? We got reimbursed for that. So it's possible that we could spend some of that money to round out the remainder of the water main project, right? We did this whole thing where we had to just do half of the water main project and do full science labs or vice versa. And we didn't have that money at that point. All right, so now the question is, we're in the wish list portion of the budget planning process, right? So everybody comes up with what they want, and then you know, we prioritize and determine what can make it through. And the question is, what might we come up with in terms of if we wanted to finish off the water main project? And there are two possible options for that, as far as I know. One is what we suggested. Could you bring up the diagram of the multicolored water mains? We took our original project.
I don't think it's in the drive. I didn't see it in the drive this time.
I can bring up an old one if you want.
Bring up the previous, if you don't see it.
Yeah, one memento.
Probably not
Yeah, 1 second.
visible.
Yeah,
It might be a PDF.
modified 7. Let's see if
Mr. Warner, question,
Yeah.
please. Are we
Yeah.
confident that we can use the American Rescue money for the water main work?
Lisa?
It's the American Rescue money that was reimbursing us for what we put out. So that money, yeah, is sitting in the capital fund. It would have to be brought back to the general fund and then reallocated back to the general fund, similar to about 3 years ago when we took all the money in the capital fund that was left over and brought it back and then put it back in the capital fund. So I'm pretty confident that we could do that with this money.
No, my question was, does it meet the criteria for which American Rescue money was intended to be used?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
That.
Okay, thank you.
We don't need to worry
Okay.
about it.
do you want me to find that drawing real quick?
I want you to find the drawing.
All right, give me a second. Sorry. All right, give me 1 minute. Hold on a second.
It was something like water options.
Main project.
Yeah,
Hold on.
there, you got it.
It doesn't have colors though. Yes,
Yes, it does.
So let me send this.
We'll send it to you.
Where am I?
Send it to this one. See this address right here?
Uh,
You can send it to
Presentation,
ADM.
there it is.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'll share this. Hold on.
okay. The original water project was everything you see. And we segmented it into and color coded the segments. The little sort of pinkish area at the end of the purple line is basically the front of the building for Woodlands High School. The thing at the end of the red line towards the top of the screen is the mansion. So Pinewood is on the east side and West Hartsdale Avenue is on the west side. And so we have with our Capital Reserve Fund money plus 800, plus some money we had previously reserved when we thought that the project was much smaller. So we ended up with the yellow line, the green line, and the purple line. The green line goes around behind Woodlands, and the purple line goes in front of Woodlands and takes care of those fire hydrants. So that's what we've got authorized, and that's what we've got done. Now, there are two ways to go. If we want to complete the project, there's just the blue line plus the red line, which would bring water to the mansion. So the fire hydrant that doesn't have enough pressure to be useful would be rehabilitated. And the other thing that you could probably do is you see all the black area that has no colored lines on the front of it. That hooks us up with the water source on Pinewood. So, and the importance of that is that if anything happens on the West Hartsdale Avenue side, then and to cut off the flow of water. So, for example, the many sometimes there will be road work because they're doing the underlying water. Then we don't have any water pressure. And the way that modern systems are designed is you have more than one source for your water pressure, such that if one gets cut off, you got pressure coming from the other way. So we wanted to close the loop. So all that black area was the way the project was originally designed, would give us pressure from the Pinewood side. And for many years, we had pressure from that side before the disaster with the Filfer Fields dumping dirt on top of the water line. Okay. So the advantage is you have pressure, therefore safety, and the disadvantage is that it costs more. And the question is, how much more does it cost? So going back to the agenda, and check my numbers here, Michael. From the list that we had in the previous, when we were looking at the project, there was a 2025 cost and a 2026 cost. Could you scroll up a little bit? No, other way.
Sorry.
Other way. There. And the blue line plus the red line were equal to $600,000 if you did the project this year, and $660,000 if you did the project next year. So far, is that correct, Mike?
Yes.
Okay, good. Option 2, scroll on to the next page. The cost may be derived from earlier estimates. The cost estimate for the entire project was $2.9 million. However, BBS now recommends that the total cost of the project, including a 5% contingency, should be $3 million if it's in 2025 and $3.2 million if it's in 2026. Is that correct, Mike?
Yes. Yes.
Good. Okay, so between the bond and the amount originally reserved, we have $1.6 million. So 3 million minus 1.6 is equals $1.4 million in 2025. If it were to 2026, you'd add another 0.2 million. Is that correct? Do we need to get? That's correct. Okay, good. Okay, so it's 1.4 million versus 0.6 million. And that's right. And we have 1.6 million coming in from the American Rescue Plan. So we can afford it. And do we want to, is that how we want to spend our money? And so there are other things that are competing for the money, possibly. It's a type of funding that doesn't renew every year. It's just there one time. So you tend to use money that's one-time money for capital projects, as opposed to, increasing the salary of people or adding staff, because that money would have to keep coming and you have to find money the next year to hire the people. So it's that kind of money. Additional possible projects that I've heard that might compete with this are window replacements near the Woodlands gym area, upgrades to the Woodlands auditorium, and a student management system at RJ Bailey and Woodlands, recommended by the safety committee, but I don't have numbers for those. Yes.
And replenishing our capital reserve fund towards the other more costly projects, which are just as pressing, if not more, including our space needs. Our solution, a possible solution to our space needs. So I know you're looking at short-term projects, but again, this non-renewable money, it's not required that we spend it right now. It's an option we're exploring. But I would be remiss that we don't acknowledge those other needs and the other option for use of that money by putting it back into savings towards a more costly project. Sorry.
Okay. Yes.
You know what you were saying, I was just wondering if we held off just doing this and figure out what we want to do with that money, because there are other projects coming up, even the windows in Woodland cafeteria. I mean, there's so many things we've looked at and what you were saying. So, you know, I agree with Krista, maybe we could hold off, just go with the project the way we did, even if it's gonna cost a little more down the road, but we have it lined up.
So your belief, okay, you understand the cost when we get around to this thing, getting back around to this thing will escalate in future years, and you see 3.2, okay? So if it's 2027, then that'll go up again.
Yeah,
All right.
and the other project will go up too on the same.
That's correct.
So what before you hit Kate, so what I'm saying is some of these additional projects, they're probably also costly. Everything's costly, right? But
Yes.
I'm wondering, should we not be considering these kind of projects as part of the regular budget process and not with one-time injections of monies that we're getting reimbursed to us? I'm just putting it as an option.
Yes, Katie.
Yeah, well, I was gonna ask before Chris made her comment for more elaboration on, like, I don't know what the student management system is. I don't know what that means. I don't know what the specific upgrades to the auditorium would mean.
Thank you, Katie, for bringing that up. I'm not really supposed to be participating in the meeting, but I want to be clear, the safety committee did not recommend that. They did not, the safety committee did not actually recommend that. I know Trustee Warner mentioned that the safety committee heard that request from an administrator. We're actually waiting for more information about an information management system. So thank you for asking that, Katie, so I could just clarify.
Okay, and what I was saying was, so that was the first thing, more clarification on what those additional projects are. Secondly, yeah, if it's now 1.6 million we were reimbursed for, it's just regular money, right, in our capital fund.
Yeah.
So it's just like we treat it like like Chris was saying, like it's just what we currently will have.
You can't use, it's not a revenue stream that flows endlessly. So it's not advisable that you hire staff with it, because when it runs out, it's gone and you won't be able to pay the staff.
Right. I mean, we used the money already for the ventilation and all of that. And then it was subsidized by the American Rescue Act. We just got that money back. So now there's money we have on.
Go into the next project, right?
Right.
And the question is, what's the next project?
Right. Okay. And right, was saying there's what's on this agenda right now, plus all the other things we've discussed at lots of other meetings.
We have a text from Megan. I have to go. My vote is to complete the hydrant project. Yes, we have many projects, but I think working on project completion as a goal is important for our committee, and we know the fire hydrant project is currently not complete.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Thank you for reading Megan's comment, but I don't know how we're having this conversation with a vendor in the conversation.
We have to talk to the vendor to figure out how to quantify what we're looking at.
Absolutely. But then the deliberation, you just read someone's opinion on what the decision should be.
It's a public meeting. I don't understand the.
He could, okay. Okay.
Who are you talking, Tracy?
Gonna do what, recommendations now? Or we're gonna be based on only this, what is here?
So what I'm talking about is, yes, we should get the information. But any deliberation and discussion, you're having with the vendor in the meeting.
Yes. This is, it's an open session discussion. Okay, so I'm for finishing off the water main project, and I'm for doing the expensive version because I think that it's safer. Okay. It doesn't sound like other people are at that point yet.
Mr. Johnson, go back to the diagrams.
Sure. The fire hydrant one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, Carol.
I think we need to look at all of the facilities needs that are there before we make a decision as to whether we want to proceed with this huge water main expenditure or not. It's premature to say that's what we want to do without looking at the other things that need to be done.
So you would think that what we need are numbers for the window replacements, the upgrades to Woodlands Auditorium, and the student management system. Well, the safety committee is not. Tracy?
David,
Yes.
sorry, I'm gonna repeat a couple of things. I'm gonna get back to this in a second. But the true list is the building, the building shells, which is like a $21 million project, which include the pointing, the windows, the walls of everything. Other options. I mean, you're talking about what we used to call summer projects, right? The other options are fixing the mansion, you know, shoring up the what's the word?
The retaining wall.
Thank you, the retaining wall, and getting it ready to open. Other projects could be an expansion to LFJ because we know we have space issues. We're talking about this more and more often. There are multiple other projects besides these three, so I just want to acknowledge that there's more.
Okay, so
The three you have listed here.
my position is that we made a recommendation to the board that we were going to do a partial water main with the understanding that as soon as we got the money, we would do the remainder.
Right, so I'm gonna get back to that now, which was, my question was, we did this version, and you're saying that the options you know, we're talking about the pipes that come in from Pinewood was more expensive, which is why we did the yellow and the green and the fuchsia. And so the remainder, if we came in from Pinewood, I'm doing my math, we said that would be 1.4 million versus the 660 or 660 million to do the blue and the red, right?
Mhm.
Why did, so the Pinewood, coming up from Pinewood to get to the high school was more expensive than doing yellow, green, and purple? I don't have that in front of me.
So in essence,
Pinewood
Go ahead,
water
Mike.
source that I don't remember. I feel like there was another issue.
in essence, we're going back to the original design, which was to build the loops for so you have sources of water coming from both sections. So the gap in the cost, we derived to it by taking the averages of the bids that we did receive that were over budget the first time, from April of last year. and add the contingencies and whatnot to it to get you a budget that would cover it for 2025 or 2026, depending on if you went that route. So the additional 1.4 million is getting you the loop work, the through the neighborhood, all the stuff that's not colorized on that plan is what gets you the rest of the job for that additional 1.6. It just puts us back to the original design.
Not the blue and red.
Yeah, no, it gets you the blue and red,
Blue and red plus that.
plus that.
So.
Yeah.
Okay,
This ECP is sitting on the left-hand side of the
Right.
drawing.
no, right.
So it makes sense to come in from
I
the
agree,
left-hand
I
side.
agree, but I didn't, what I can't remember, I guess. So thank you for explaining that, okay, so what I can't remember is I felt like there was also a flow issue, was the pipes?
Chief Mercedes, I believe he said that the water pressure on the West Hartsdale side was better than the Pinewood side.
Which is what surprised me, because when we did all that work on the fields, I thought all of that was,
And it's at 3,400 on the, at a certain point on the Pinewood side. Yes, our diagram disagrees with his belief that it's better coming from the west.
so. Here's what I'm saying, if we're considering, let's call it everything or part of it to get to the mansion, i.e. closing the loop or not to get to the mansion. Because yes, I do believe we should finish this so all of our buildings are
Okay,
covered with water and fire safety. What I'm wondering though is, I'm afraid, because some of the information disagrees, that once we start closing the loop, since we don't have apparently full or recent information, we're going to discover other things. So how
that can
recent is
happen
that?
with any work you do.
Yeah, how recent is the information that we have then? They would know.
It's all 2018 or later. Okay, go
So
ahead.
none of that was looked at when we were doing all this other work, when doing the borings at the core or samples, doing the samples over the last 3 years or whatever. They never did anything on that end.
I'm not saying that.
I'm asking.
No, we did. There was course taken for this entire, what you see on the screen was pretty much encompassed with, investigative work.
For the whole,
So to the best of everyone's ability, obviously, you're limited in how many you're gonna do, but it's how we came about the design that you see on the page. We just went back afterwards, when we were over budget, to try to value engineer and dissect it a little bit to get you similar coverage at a more efficient cost. And that's where we came up with the segmented lines with the fire chief. And we all agree that it's, anything's better than nothing. Even if you excluded the mansion, you still have coverage at the mansion at a much better condition than you would if you had nothing. So, like we talked about, I think 2 months ago, you could still go through the parking lot at the high school to reach the backside of the mansion. And it's a much shorter run than it would be if you're daisy chaining 6 trucks to try to get there. So
We have a fire out at the field, out at the football field. Are they covered from Jackson, or where are they drawing water from?
So your nearest hydrant would be along that purple line at the very end. There's a hydrant there. Those red dots represent hydrants.
The building, the field, the football field, which is not on the map.
Not on the map. Yeah.
Solar panels are.
Yes, thank you.
Battery energy storage system.
Yeah. I don't know what pipes are running out there. It doesn't look like there's any hydrants out there either. So I don't think you have any hydrant coverage unless there's something on the neighboring sides of the property that has hydrants, but it's not on your property.
So on this uncolored part of the loop, I can't see, I should totally open my little version. So we should know that, with what's being installed out there. Would this show us where the nearest hydrant is to that road back to the fields? So it'd be right there where your arrow is. It would be the road, right?
Battery energy storage.
Is there anything there? Is anyone looking? Is anyone besides the non-experts looking? We don't
You're
know.
north of that road.
Sorry?
Yeah. You're north of that road for the fields.
No, these are that way.
Correct.
The field was, way down towards Jackson, they would probably pull from the following neighborhood over Jackson, but I would imagine I don't know for certain, but there's gotta be on Pinewood, through Rex Ridge, in the back there, there's a field across, that would be the closest way probably
That's
to,
right there.
you know,
I'm
with
just
the,
thinking because of what's being installed out there.
where the,
somebody needs
where
to
the
know.
practice field is, where they used to have the, track and field where the football team practices, there's a couple acre field.
Mhm.
And in the back there, that's probably where they would run a few lengths of hose.
And that'd be closer than.
That's much closer,
installing
that's,
something.
yeah, that's much closer.
Okay.
Got
Yeah.
it. Okay, sorry, just because that's for me.
Yes, that would work in my favor, okay. Dr. Elliott.
Yes.
Yes,
What's gonna happen if the science labs run over the amount of money that we have set aside? I ask this because I'm wondering, should we be keeping this money in reserve in case we needed to finish that particular project?
I'll check with Ms. Raymond, but I believe that they can't. When you have your funding, the numbers can't go over on a capital project first.
Right, we don't. we
Right,
just-
but just like we thought the water mains would only be 800,000, and when we got bids, we found that they were more. So what happens if we have cost overruns on the science project?
I could probably give a little bit of information with that. So similar to what we're doing with the water main, the district, and I'll be sending paperwork to Lisa to submit to the SED. You do a financial amendment to the funding source. So, you know, they'll want to see the vote that like we just had for the additional money for the water main project. And just a brief description or showing the reduced scope of work or increased scope of work, whatever it winds up being, that made the changes to get you the funding. And then it's expedited. It's not a full-blown 20-week review. I've already done it with the water main, with the SED. I've had preliminary discussions with them. So I would imagine if the first phase of construction for the science projects came in over, and let's say you had more than half of the rooms still to do, we could determine what the shortfall would be, and you do the exact same thing you're doing now with the water main. You'd have to transfer money, submit to the state the financial form to revise the finances on the project, and then you would continue with your award, the following whatever.
Right, so basically, maybe we need to keep some money in reserve in case we needed to finish the science labs.
We have other reserves.
You're right, we do. But it never hurts to have a little cushion there so that we don't come down to crunch time and say, hey, we don't have enough money to finish this. Which is basically what Chris is saying. Maybe we should be using this to buffer out, to add to the reserves instead of planning to spend it all immediately.
Can I just ask, I'm trying to get clarity on, I missed the beginning of the meeting, so forgive me. Where did, we just asked voters 2 days ago to approve moving a certain amount of money. Where did now we need to spend more money come from? That's what I'm trying, so I missed the beginning.
Okay, we made a recommendation to the board that we would do all of the science labs and part of the water main. Right? That was the recommendation, that was the option that the board chose. And then we had our vote and we got the money for all the science labs and some of the water mains. Then we got reimbursement from the American Rescue Plan, the phase 1 project we did. The government, when they gave us money, they don't give you the money right away. So we spent our own money and expected this money to come in. So now it's come in $1.6 million. And so then we said we were gonna do the remainder of the water main project when we got the money. And lo and behold, we've got the money. That's what this discussion has been about. Does that clarify?
So it will be to finish the science labs and to finish the whole project for the water?
It clarifies, but I just hope, I mean, the facilities committee, which I'm not on, the facilities committee is up to date on all of this. You guys are talking about all these things, fine, but I hope it's clear to the community that we asked them to pass a proposition, and they did, and that we're moving forward ahead with that, that we're not just coming behind that, taking more money and using it for what we asked them to move the money for. So that's all. I just want to make sure that whatever is recommended and then ultimately decided by the board, that the messaging is clear. So that's all.
Okay.
Giovanna was saying something.
Oh, go ahead, Giovanna?
Yeah, so the money will be used to finish the science lab. And then to do just part of that water. But now you want to finish it.
But now I wanna finish the water. Cause I got more money, so I wanna do the.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, use the money that.
So the money that we just approved from
Yes.
savings was
Mhm.
to do all the science labs and part
of it,
of
yes,
the water.
yes. But now you consider it to finish.
So that's,
Yes.
that's going to happen. That's going to happen.
Mhm.
And within that pot of the estimates that our architects gave us, they have a certain percentage in case there are cost overruns, et cetera. And to Dr. Allen's point, if there are more cost overruns, we have other funds, we can change the scope. We'll have various options that the board will consider. Now we've gotten reimbursed
Yes.
for other work from the government, that fit under
Federal.
scope, the federal government, that fit under the scope of certain things during COVID times. So we fronted the money for that project, and now we've gotten reimbursed for that. So that we're just starting to discuss, does that money go back into savings? Do we use it right now for certain projects? What do we do? And one of the things that when this committee and the board decided to split the water project in half, or 2/3 or whatever,
So
one of the options is to finish the
enough
water.
money?
We didn't have enough money at the time to ask the voters to pay for, well, we could have used all of our savings, right?
Yes, to do
Sorry.
that.
Even if we
Amazing.
used all of our savings, there was not
There
enough
was
money.
not enough money. We would have had to. So now that we have an infusion of money, we thought one of the options is to finish the water project so our buildings are fire safe. And now it's how big of a do we do the last of the colored parts, the red and the blue to get up to the mansion? Or we do the red, the blue, and the black and white part to close the whole loop to make it done. So that's what we're discussing now. In addition to saying, if we don't use all of the money for that, does it go into savings? Does it go into some of these options David's laid out here? Does it go into towards some of the savings for options that I was vocalizing?
And my question will be, so do we need to finish at some point this project?
Yes.
So.
Do we need to? Technically, transparently, all of these buildings, that building is so old, it's been grandfathered in and it's not required. In my opinion, is it smart to do it so it's up with current codes and there's enough water pressure to protect that building and whoever may be in it one day? I think we should do it. We were grandfathered in.
Yeah, but
I just want to ask one question. Over on, you were talking about where the black and white area is.
yes,
That's over there where that we have a soccer field that's not watered right now.
yes.
And then we have the tennis court coming up on the other side and the baseball field.
That's
All the way around.
That's all this way.
Yeah, we don't have any water there either.
We do, where the green, see where the green is?
That, I thought the green was
So-
behind,
So the green is,
Behind the building.
not
right.
behind the building.
but the fields are like here, where we're sitting. We're sitting in the fields, what you're
Okay.
talking about.
Right.
The baseball field and the tennis courts, that's where we are basically, right?
The reason why I'm asking is if we're gonna do all that where the black and white is, shouldn't we be looking at the scope of, because we have no sprinklers over there for that field? Baseball field had no sprinklers. Should we be looking at that part over there as a separate project? Even if you finish up the red line, but you were talking about the black and white, doing something over there by Pinewood.
Correct.
But the Pinewood side, I would think you would want to at least complete and have water for that soccer field, which is in disrepair now because we don't have any water there. And the baseball field, which doesn't have any water. So you can probably get that. You know what I'm saying?
But this is for hydrant lines, not for.
No, but what I'm saying is,
Unless I'm
well, you
mistaken.
still need water. It gotta come from somewhere.
Yeah, right, currently we do have water that goes to the soccer field, but I guess it was from neglect or the units froze up over the years. When we pressurize it, the water comes out on the soccer field, but all the heads have been, the pipes are cracked. But the water does flow from the gymnasium area across the roadway to the field.
Okay,
So
so,
there is a working pipe there.
okay, so there's already a working pipe. So if we're doing all the hydrant stuff, is it possible to throw that in? Or would that have to be a separate project to have that fixed? If you're already digging, that's what I'm trying to.
It would be more of a question for the architects and engineers, but I would imagine that'd be a separate, doing irrigation for a field would be a separate.
It would be
project.
yeah, you're correct, Dennis. It would be an irrigation project. It would have to be an addendum to this project if you were gonna try to loop it in. I would probably suggest to do it as a separate site project, to something, tie it into something inside the building in the future and do it that way, so you get some aid on it.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Allen.
I'd like to point out that we're talking about spending a huge amount of money to provide water to a soccer field or to a football field where there are no structures that we are concerned about burning down. We're talking about providing water to the mansion, which is not being used. And we've already spent over $1 million putting the roof on that building, which is not being used. And while we're having this discussion, we are not addressing the other needs that we have for the buildings that are being used by the students every day for 10 months out of the year. I don't think we have our priorities straight at this point in talking about how to spend this money. I said earlier, I'm going to repeat it again. We need to look at the other projects that need to be done. We need to look at which is most important, second most important, third most important, and then decide how we want to spend the money that we've come into and when we want to spend it.
Dr. Allen, if I can just clarify one point about the reason I brought up the football field area was because that is where the battery energy storage solution is.
Is that going to get fought with water? Usually you don't put water on electrical fires.
If the trees around it, et cetera, catch. So I'm just saying, that's why I was talking about an area with no permanent structure, because that is there. So.
Okay, then the people who are putting in that battery energy storage system should be kicking in some money to provide protection for their equipment. That should not fall solely on the taxpayers of this district.
It's our system. Okay.
You're right, it is our system. But if we lose it, the folks who put it in are the ones who are going to be most upset, not us. So we need to look at the student needs before we start talking about spending money on other things.
Okay, so I thought I had it. I thought that we were going to go out and get the numbers for the window replacement upgrades, the Woodlands Auditorium, the student management system, and then we're going to come back and eventually vote on it once everybody aired out their opinions, which, you know, this is the airing of the opinions portion. Does that sound like a plan?
I will say that I believe we need to consider whether we are going with the red and blue portions or the whole loop or nothing first, and then look at other things. These additional projects that you're considering for 25-26.
Yeah, I think you have to wait for Dr. Iverson's budget proposal on what she's proposing for capital interfund transfer, et cetera.
Which we'll
before
hear
we decide on any of
the
those.
wish list next Tuesday at the board meeting.
Guys, I think, oh, Katie, did you have your hand up? I thought Katie had her hand up. I didn't want them to move on if you were.
I keep putting it up and putting it down because people are making,
All right,
What?
go ahead, Katie.
but no, I see the point. I feel like I don't know what the full board decided other than, January 14th, we voted on releasing money for the science labs and a partial hydrant project. Our committee here definitely talked about when we get the money, like that we agreed to do it that way, have the 8 fully fund the science labs and only partially fund the hydrants because we knew we would be likely to get enough money to do the second part of the hydrant project. Now, not everybody on this committee thought that, but the majority who made a recommendation. So I'm just putting that out there. And then now, but we hadn't gotten to whether we would just do blue and red or we were going to do this connection thing. So anyway, maybe we should, yeah, I agree with Chris. We got to figure that part out. And then I'll let Gabby go.
Gabriella?
Sorry, I'm driving, trying to unmute myself. That's what Katie's understanding. That was my understanding as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Last time we
So-
were talking about that, and the water project was small, remember? They were explaining me also, it was small, how it became big?
They did some studies and some core samples, and the more they looked at it, the more difficult the terrain was to dig into. Do you wanna expound upon that, Mike?
You've kind of said it all. There's a lot of rocky terrain there. And just the contractors that were bidding the job, they know it better than anybody as far as how that area is. And as much as you try to forecast how much you think you might encounter, you never can really encumber that entire amount. So I think that's why you saw the numbers coming in where they were. It had a lot to do with it. And the phasing of it, when you're going to get the work done. We were trying to get it initially, I think, done over that summer period into the fall.
So
Go ahead.
I don't know, Gabriella, were you done speaking earlier before I continue where I was?
Yes, I was. Sorry.
Okay. So, and maybe we're not going to finish this off here, but right now, my current thinking, I was curious about doing the full closed loop thing, but trying to juggle all of the balls at the same time. I think right now, my personal inclination, I'll put myself out there, the personal inclination is to finish the red and the blue lines to assure that the mansion is done with the 600-ish, $600,000 to $700,000 budget. And I don't know if we're going to make a recommendation on this community board and have the board consider it, and if that could all be bid out at the same time, so it's one project. I don't know, I guess.
Yes, to answer your question, I was just thinking the exact same thing. We could put out the bid, the yellow, the green, the purple lines as the base bid, put out the blue and the red as an alternate, and then you see where the numbers fall. And then if you decide that we were over or under our original estimates, you make that decision as far as if you want to pull the trigger to do those 2 lines. And then maybe you wait. If it comes in higher, you wait and do it under a future project.
So that's my personal inclination, and then the rest of the ARP money, I would be inclined to probably put in the capital reserve towards one of our giant projects, the $21 million building shell project, the expansion of the LFJ project, or the reopening of the mansion project.
So
I would say that these additional items,
Mhm.
we need to start building some of that into our yearly budget process. Not with relying only on one-time injections of money. That's just me. We haven't heard what administration is going to suggest, but I'm trying to bring something forward to the discussion now to hear what the community needs to say, so that we can hopefully get to a decision point sooner rather than later.
Okay, so your red and, so let's say we had red and blue versus full project. You'd be a red and blue.
Right now, I'm red and blue. And we-
Okay.
We look at the rest in a future time.
And I'm a full project. Jessica, do you want to say something? I'm gonna start polling people.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm driving too, so I had to pull over. My understanding too was that we voted to split it, and the only reason I voted to agree to split it and go for the full science labs is because we were able to say that we probably have the money shortly. So I would want to go forward to close it. I also think we have to take in consideration we just came through a 100-day drought. We are seeing what's happening in Los Angeles. We know the impact of not having proper water pressure. We are in a wooded area. We need to be realistic about what the needs may be, and there may not be structures there, but there are structures nearby and there are children nearby. So I think we need to be very aware of the safety. Obviously, there are so many projects we need to do, but the agreement and the recommendation of this committee was to close it as soon as we could.
So you're for full project or red and blue?
Full project.
Full project. Jessica
But
Muldoon.
that wasn't part of the conversation last month when you guys came up with it. I was in that meeting. So I don't know if you can see what we're talking about if you're driving when we're saying full project now.
I can see to a degree. I liked what you said, Chris, about getting all of the numbers and then potentially, but I think the money should go towards finishing it out to the best of our ability, rather than pushing it off. And then when anything left can go into the reserves, if that makes sense.
Now is the portions that went up to the mansion, which was the remainder of the project from last month, versus the portion going up to the mansion and now re-added the rest of the loop to Pinewood, which was not part of the consideration last month. That's why I don't know, since you came in late, you're driving.
Yeah,
I mean,
so where was that added in? Maybe that was where I got confused, that there was extra, where was that, when, who added that in? When and how much extra does it cost?
It got subtracted out when we found that we didn't have enough money to do.
No,
both.
the additional part up through Pinewood that Chris just talked about.
The additional part is on the drawing because it was the original project.
It got subtracted before last month, a long months ago.
Thank you. Right, so how much more is it now to put that back in is the question.
Right, so it costs 1.4 million for the whole thing.
Minus 6 is
And
0.8.
Yeah.
So to add in.
Yeah, the difference is 0.8 million. $800,000.
Thank you.
Yes, roughly. Okay. Gabriella. Red and blue or full project? She's not there.
No, I'm here, David, trying to unmute myself. I enlarged my screen to see the drawing because I'm on my, it's on my phone as well. I support finishing off the project.
Full project, okay. Okay, Megan Hack. Oh, yeah, Megan Hack said that she supported something, but I'm not sure if it was full project or.
You can see.
Actually, my vote is complete. Oh, it's to complete the fire hydrant project. Yes, we have many projects, but I think working on the project completion as a goal is important for our committee. And we know the fire hydrant project is currently not complete. But it doesn't say whether it's red or blue.
I'm just gonna say, I'm
Yeah.
gonna interrupt. Exactly. Protocol is when you're taking votes, you take votes from people who are present and able to discuss that out, because we don't know what that means exactly. Finishing out versus what we were talking about last month or a year ago, so.
Okay.
Fair, we don't have everybody who would be voting, right? Is everybody here who's on the voting?
You didn't have me last month and you voted, so.
You voted.
It's
Whoever's
here.
there.
Or espresso.
All right, so let's see. Sarah Lazaria is not
Should we
here.
wait for the next
Correct.
meeting?
Okay. Linda Lee is not here. Katie McGee. Red and blue or full project?
How much is the red and blue altogether? Sorry, I don't have the agenda pulled up. I know you had it in there.
The red and blue is $600,000.
Oh, and then the connecting to the Pinewood would be
Per million, right, which
Yeah, they
includes-
said it was 800,000 difference.
okay, so it's okay. 1.4. So okay. Yeah, I'll go for the I'll vote for the full thing connecting to the Pinewood.
Okay. E. Adonia Mans. Oh, nice. Whole thing. Steve Morton.
Red and blue.
Jessica Mul, oh, we already have Jessica Muldoon, okay. Faisal Siddiqui, no. Walter Simon, no. Chris Valen has gone, and I've gone. So we've got,
I don't think you asked me,
okay, are you,
but I was gonna ask.
a member?
Oh, I'm not sure, but, I was gonna ask, what is the year for this project? Like, when it will finish, when it will start, when it will finish?
Well, it will start this year. How long will it take? Mike?
It really, we need to talk about that as far as road availability, but I would say by the fall is what we would shoot for. Award sometime in the spring and then finish it in the fall.
So 2 seasons?
Yeah, roughly. And again, there's a lot of factors with that, but that's what we were forecasting, 6 months originally.
Okay, so it looks like we've got DW, so we got 2 people on for red and blue and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for full project. Okay, so full project it is.
Full
So
project is the recommendation to the board for
Correct.
discussion. Let's be clear.
correct. You are a committee
I'm
that
just
makes
being-
recommendations to the board, and then the board decides what it will do.
Because this is broadcast, we're being clear that that's not the decision. It's being recommended to the board. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Can I just say I also want to know what administration thinks? What their feelings are on it?
So basically what's happening is, we're saying, hey, we recommend this, and then it's going to go in a hopper and the board's gonna decide and yes, the administration will have requests and it'll all get prioritized in some way at some other level. But we've got it's our input.
No, she asked what administration thinks. Mr. Pugliese is very well able to speak on his own. Please let him weigh in. If maybe he doesn't want to give an opinion, but let him give an opportunity. That's what she asked.
I would just have to say that I know that, speaking with the contractors that have done work here, there's a lot of rock down on the other side of the Pinewood, around the turn over there, and I know that we do have a lot of utilities now. We're putting in the gas line now, and
Yep.
this is gonna come afterwards, so we have, one side of the street's got the electrical work from the solar array. The other side right now is gonna be getting the gas pipe. There's a couple of conduits that go across for electric across the road.
Yep.
It's a tight spot, so I'm just cautious about how the numbers are gonna come in when they come to bid that, to make sure we're not out of the ballpark.
Okay.
So let me. say-
Realistically, you would like ideally, you would like the loop system. That's the better system, so you have
Yeah,
to be fed from both sides, but like you say, you want to balance the projects. Okay, do we want to do the building envelope, which is like one of my top things to make sure, you have to weigh all these options maybe, and once we get the numbers to say, okay, hey, there's 4 projects here, how is this project gonna affect them? That's what you need to mull over.
Good.
So I'm going to say a couple of things. One is, what you alluded to, the water in general, but the question is, if we're opening up the road and closing the road and then opening up the road again, obviously that's probably built into the different project costs as far as repaving and all of that, which is a shame that we can't just put everything in the road when it's open. I'm sure if I'm not gonna say it now, someone will say it at some
Well,
point.
yeah, well, right now, the electrical conduit is actually off the shoulder on the one side of the road. If you're coming from Pinewood, it'd be on the right side. And the gas line is gonna be off the shoulder on the left side. But now you're gonna go, the water main is gonna be.
It's gonna cross.
Into the roadway more.
But it's there already somewhere. I don't know where. And theoretically, these designs tell us where, right?
Yeah, but the water main goes down 4 feet as opposed to 2 or 3 feet for the other utilities. There's different, the water main's gonna be down deeper.
It has to be deeper because it must not freeze in the winter.
Gotcha. Okay, and then just again to Ms. McGee's request about admin, you may have heard us say earlier, we do have a board meeting on Tuesday, the 21st. It's at RJ Bailey for anyone who would like to attend. At that meeting, you will hear committee reports, and this is where I'm sure Trustee Warner will inform the board about the recommendation out of this committee. And I believe as part of Ms. Raymond's report, I don't know, I'm going to put words in her mouth and she's going to nod or give me eyes. But I think it's the first discussion about the budget, and it's going to be presenting the admin's wish list or what they've gathered from the building leaders. So they'll address what they see as priorities for the next budget year, and maybe that'll either dovetail or not, and it'll be a start of a conversation. Okay, I got no eyes, so I'm thinking that's okay.
Okay, anybody else? All right, moving on. Project status. BBS Architects, can you bring up the BBS report? Mike, lead us through.
Sure. Let's make this a little bit bigger. So the Woodland Security Vestibule project, there was a new takeover agreement that was drafted up. I saw that being circulated between the surety and the district's attorneys. And I believe they're still going back and forth. Hopefully it looks like the finish line is coming close. And the contractor hopefully will be taking it over and starting up again. We'll get a schedule, but right now, until that's completed, we really don't have a timeline on it. I did draft through it, look through it, and I saw that the leasee was the approved contractor. So we do know that he successfully completed the work at RJ Bailey. So hopefully, once he does get on board, he'll fly through and be completed finally. The admin building for the roof masonry reconstruction, we're in the closeout process with the contractor there. So that's underway. The phase 1 projects we're still running in.
Stop.
Okay.
Wait.
Lisa, did you want to weigh in on what's going on with the security vestibule paperwork?
Yes, I spoke with Chris Batter, our attorney, today, and they have reviewed the surety's work. There are 4 to 6 questions and items that they are going back and forth with the surety. And it's my understanding that the latest they hope to begin the vestibule, they're hoping February, but the latest will be the beginning of March.
Ms. Raymond, can we make sure that all of this is very well communicated? I know Mr. Pugliese is there, but also with Mr. Smith, being that it's his, his building there. We have administratives in there, but it's really the principal's building. He should be made aware,
He is, we keep him updated.
Okay, great.
All right, thank you. All right, go ahead.
Okay. So phase 1, we're in the closeout process as well with all those contractors, and the work's all been completed. The water main we just spoke about, so I'll skip over that. The Woodlands tennis courts, letter of intent was issued by the board on 12/27. Bonds and insurance have been received from DeRosa Sports Construction, who's the contractor who won the project. Contracts are in circulation for review and signature, and you should be having a kickoff meeting soon with Sabin.
Okay, stop.
Yep.
Okay. Just all the closeout items on both the admin building and the phase one. We've been hearing about closeout for months and months and months and months. How long does closeout normally take?
Unfortunately, the contractors usually drag their feet for the last 5% of their money. And we do the best we can to push them to provide the information that's required. It's just a matter of just tolling it all. So some of the contractors have been closed out, for example, Piazza for phase one has been. The electrical contractor, he's like 98% of the way there. It's just trying to, get his sureties to sign off, get him to do the paperwork side that he needs to do. Unfortunately, contractors just hate doing the paperwork that's required for it. But you have their last 5% of their money, so that there is some carrot to dangle out there. It's just really some of them are just very slow to do it. That's all.
So it sounds like mostly paperwork. So it's not like cleanup of their stuff on the ground.
No.
You keep rattling around on the grounds. It shouldn't be there.
Correct. The roofing contractor, he may still have some of his stuff stored over there. We've asked him numerous times to get his scaffolding out of there. I don't know if he's done that yet, but I know Dennis and myself and Stu, we've numerous times have told him, get your stuff out of there. And again, there's so much money left on his contract that if push came to shove, if you wanted to remove it yourself and back charge him, you could. But right now that's how things are being handled. It's just keep on nagging them to do that.
I don't want to be the de facto storage or dumping ground. So I just, they need to get their stuff out. It needs to be clean and good. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Okay.
Back to
you, Adanya, you wanted something for the RFP to show the different versions of how you could have 3 courts or 4 courts for the tennis court.
Yeah.
I sent you an email.
You did, I got it.
Did that satisfy your?
I opened it at 5:45, so I have to look at it.
Okay.
But I did get it, so.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. Any other questions about the tennis courts before I move on? Okay. So the Woodlands track is the same situation as the tennis courts. It's the same contractor, so it's the same contracts. Would you mind just scrolling up just a little bit? Sorry. Thank you. Actually, we're done with this page. You can go to the next page. Roof replacement at Woodlands, again, that was awarded at the same time. So there you have Nico K is the roofing contractor. Contracts have been put out for signature and review. And this, again, we're going to have a kickoff meeting. I believe, Francis, that's Tuesday, correct?
That's correct, Mike.
Yep. So there's a kickoff meeting happening for that. Any questions?
So the gas line is going to be put in by the energy performance contracts guys, and you're going to be doing the roofing project at this. Is there going to be any overlap?
The gas piping should be started within the next couple of weeks, the trench work. The interior stuff in the building is that's completed.
Okay.
They're gonna start the trench work, they'd like to start within the next couple of weeks. So we're anticipating, hopefully they'll be out of there before the machinery starts, for the construction in the spring.
Okay, thanks. All right, go ahead.
Highview Elementary partial window replacement. The board accepted the withdrawal letter from Empire Window and sent letter of intent to award to Arrow Steel. We did have a kickoff meeting with them just this past week, this past Tuesday, I believe. Bonds and insurance and contracts have been sent to the district for review and approval. So he's on board now. We're just awaiting shop drawings, and then once we get that, we'll turn that around right away so they can get into fabrication. district-wide energy performance contract. We're about 60% complete. That's moving along on schedule. The roof replacement at RJ Bailey, the flat roofs, again, that was also part of the last go around with awards. Milcon is the low bidder there. His contracts have also been drafted, and the kickoff meeting will be held separately for him at some point in the future. That project is much smaller, and the schedule is more finite, being over the summer. So that might not happen for a little while, but Savin will schedule that. Any questions? Okay. The sign. Oh, go ahead.
Let's see, is there a summer camp at RJ Bailey?
We are currently in discussions on where they're going to be, can't be at Woodlands or Bailey next summer. So,
Not at Woodlands or Bailey.
because the roofs are going to be done.
No, I'm thinking out loud, and we've got summer school that is normally at Highview and at ECP. And sometimes elsewhere.
That's why Dr. Iverson has had 2 meetings so far, and we're scheduled to have another meeting to discuss, and then we're gonna have to speak with Town of Greenburgh and TDYCC on how to coordinate this.
Okay,
Because of the roof work.
because of the roof work, right?
And it'll probably be for 2 summers.
Although the
Kind of.
Bailey flat roof, that's the bigger part. Sorry, I'm thinking out loud. 2 summers.
Okay.
That was the
Just
other
over the auditorium.
Yes, we did it on one side of the building,
bigger part of
and
it.
now we're gonna do the other side of the building. Right, closer to the entrance we actually use. I guess we could go in the other way.
On the back. So you're talking about the entrance on the front?
It's the flat roofs over
The
both
flat roof
wings.
is on the back.
Mhm.
Okay.
So the question is, could the kids come in from the front of the building?
No.
No?
It was, for safety reasons, it was determined Bailey is off
Okay,
limits.
okay, fair enough,
Because the intention is to do the whole roof over the summer and be done by September.
right.
Mhm. Exactly. Possibly, we thought we could possibly do something here because they want to start the 2 gym roofs before school gets out and the weather gets nice and kids
Yeah.
can be outside. The problem there is that the staging area is back there and that's where all
In
the,
the back.
so we really couldn't have.
The staging areas in the back because.
On the soccer field, in that area, well, that's where all where else are we gonna put the materials?
Front, we don't want to.
Where?
Front lawn that never gets used. I don't know how big the staging area
Yeah,
is.
there's a lot of, fenced off area around the construction where they're gonna be doing the tennis courts.
No, we're talking about Bailey.
Oh, no, we're
Bailey.
talking here, I'm sorry. we're
I'm
talking
sorry,
here.
oh,
No, I'm talking here,
were
I'm
we-
talking about
We're-
the camps
we were-
being here.
Talking about Bailey?
Yeah, if the camps
Oh,
were here,
we
we don't think we could do it here either.
Okay.
Because even though they're gonna start here before school gets out,
That's what you're
it's
talking about.
still going to be the staging area.
Yeah, they would-
Wait, staging area,
They would have to do the gym and have the gym area ready if it's in close proximity.
and where's the staging area?
You're talking about,
We don't know yet, it's
Graduation?
gonna be back,
That's
that
what
way.
I'm
No, it'll be,
doing in baseball season, et cetera. Are you putting it on the big paved area by the,
Correct, where the tennis courts are.
okay,
All
so there's the
that's
tennis
in
courts and a
discussion.
paved area.
Yep.
So not
And the
in
grassy
relation with
area.
baseball season, graduation.
okay,
well, we're gonna have to try, yeah, that's why we're having these meetings.
Okay, so this is the gym you were gonna try to start.
The big one and the little one.
okay.
Bailey is, we've already determined it's completely off limits for the summer, we're pretty sure.
All right, go ahead, you're at,
So
Woodlands
the
labs.
Woodlands Science Lab and gas service at 3 room 14 and the reconstruction of the eye wash stations. That we're going to most likely bid at the same time we do the fire hydrants this spring. So in March, what I would forecast that we'll package that together. And that work will happen this summer as well. The roof replacement at Highview Elementary and at Jackson was submitted on 9/19. We have received approval on 1/9. And that I would forecast the bid in September, October of this year for summer construction of 2026. So it would be around the same timeline we just did for the roofs at Woodlands and Bailey. You're first in line with all the contractors to schedule their work for the following year. And we saw very favorable pricing by doing it that way. So I would recommend we do the exact same thing. Put it out on the street this fall, once all the major construction projects have been done this summer for other neighboring districts.
So Ms. Raymond,
Yes.
you just said that Bailey and the high school might be off limits for up to 2 summers. We can't have all 4 buildings closed for
No,
2026.
Bailey and the high school will be closed this summer.
Okay,
Jackson and Highview next
Jackson
summer.
and Highview next summer.
gotcha. Okay. Not 2 years.
Okay, good, continue.
And then the last item is the science labs, which we already talked about. So that's all I got.
Okay, let's do a picture walk and then we'll do the maintenance stuff. Okay, so just start through and hit the picture and.
This is the auditorium at R.J. Bailey. This is the trench work at Highview Elementary School. That's the Highview gas pipes that are on the side of the building at Highview.
And those are insulated enough? They seem so small.
No, those are just non-insulated, just steel, it's just painted orange.
Yeah.
Yellow.
It's a different stage.
Yep, that's the trench work that's after it's completed. We black the top, down the access road there. This is the other side of the building, Highview, gas piping. That I figured out, it looks like it's the gas piping on the roof.
Right, it goes up the side or around and then down the front.
Did they have to paint it yellow?
That's the color for gas.
That's the color for you.
That's another picture of the roadway.
They've gotten rid of the fences.
And this is the solar array where the trench work was down the roadway. It was where those rocks were just off the access roadway.
Woodlands football field.
That's the structure of the solar array. That's the storage component. It still has to be hooked up. That's the that is the high view. Again, that's another picture of what we saw earlier.
Again, that will all be enclosed somehow?
There should be bollards or something around it. Like, so nobody could.
Climb up it or
Yeah,
climb up it.
Just in bollards, is that
By the way,
enough as opposed to?
we
Let's say
would
someone
have to
throws
have
a ball
that
over
discussion.
there.
I had some concerns about some kids just grabbing the pipes and.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Bollards don't seem enough to prevent a kid from walking past the bollards. I'm thinking. of
Yeah,
something
that's more
else needs to
for
be-
like somebody
Look at-
crashing into where the meter would be, but I could see students or
I mean, we have
climbing
things
up the side
here
of the building.
fenced off.
What we did with
Thinking-
the fuel oil for the front of Bailey, right, completely. Right, and it's kind of
Some-
camouflaged, so it looks
sort
like
of-
green.
Yeah, I don't think that's part of the scope of the plan, but that's,
a
something we
minimum
need to
fence.
address, yeah,
Right,
correct,
okay,
I agree.
I was showing that, yeah, it does.
Yeah, the meters aren't there yet, they're on, order, I guess, is what I heard. And that's, Woodlands, that's where the connection's gonna come in from the trench work and out by the, actually right outside here in the corner. And it's gonna go up across the roof to where it goes, boiler room.
That's it.
That's it?
I'm gonna say
It shouldn't be.
something else should be around here.
Yeah, right there.
No, there's more.
Yeah, that was weird.
So that's where it goes, into the boiler room. After it drops down from the roof from the other side.
Mhm.
That's a picture of the security vestibule. On the hydrants at the mansion. This is room 2 at ECP. We had
Water leak.
the floor was starting to
Yeah, right there.
warp a little bit.
Yeah,
New
it
floor.
bubbles.
New floor.
We had our maintenance mechanic re-glue some of it down, heat it up and put some new adhesive down.
Do we know why I did that?
Could be from the leak that we had several years ago. It could be just the floor slab sweating, the difference in the condensation between the coldness.
New furniture at ECP. You wanna talk about the sludge?
This is the teachers center room. There's another picture that would actually show it. I'm not sure if you have that one. I'll send it to your email. If you didn't, it looks like a stock photo. This is actually the table when they eat on it, they cover it up to make sure that they protect it. So in this room, we have the teachers of their conference room, meetings are held. The parents, teachers go there to do work, and it's a new floor, new painting, new refrigerator, new chairs, and I think they have new air conditioning also. Behind is the first secretary that ECP's ever had room, and it's under construction.
That's the floor from the distance.
That's one of the fire hydrants at Woodlands. Yes. That is the new companion seats that were just installed recently at RJ Bailey. That's the other side. There's another picture.
That's it. Okay. Great. So now lead us through.
Okay, smaller projects, ECP, so the room 2 with the flooring that was repaired. LF Jackson, both new boilers are running. Occasionally the boilers are locking out. They're still continuing to reset them and make adjustments. Partial gas pipe installation, once this has been completed, will be installed after Woodlands is completed. So the gas pipe installation is going to go to Woodlands next, and then they're going to continue to Jackson. EPC lighting upgrades are 95% at LF Jackson. We talked about the expansion of the parent parking at Jackson. And the drainage was fixed by the town several years ago, but that was still a discussion that the board was talking about. Highview, both boilers are running. Occasional boiler lockout. They're continuing to make adjustments.
What does that mean?
They're like the boilers will run, but for some reason or another, whether they're not sure if it's firmware or if it's the eye that reads the flame, there's something that the manufacturers are working out, because all 4 boilers are from the same manufacturer.
New boilers.
Brand new.
Right.
And they just don't know
when they're too hot or when they're too cold.
And how long are we covered by the warranty? Just is it hopefully more than 6 months or?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's a year.
Yeah, they didn't.
Well, you never know these days. So.
They didn't even turn the project over yet.
Yeah, they haven't turned it over to us yet.
Okay.
Window walls in the 3rd grade construction are pending. We talked about that. Yeah, we talked about that. The window walls, the board approved and gonna get done. Trench. I'm sorry. The trench piping at Highview. We saw the pictures. There, RJ Bailey, a new camera wiring is to be completed on the inside of the building this week. New camera installation is scheduled to be in the following week. We saw the pictures of the floor ADA companion seats. There's a ribbon cutting schedule in the auditorium prior to the winter concert on January 22nd at 6:30 p.m.
Just to be clear, the ribbon cutting's at 6, the concert begins at 6:30.
Okay.
Okay, the new gym wall pads have been ordered, they're still being fabricated.
That's what I read from the email.
Okay.
That's great.
We're waiting delivery, the weather stripping and insulation is completed. We had some heating issues caused by closed valves and ceilings that are being resolved. We believe we have a handle on that now. Woodlands, we saw the BBS report regarding the vestibule. Gas pipe installation is completed inside and around the building after the meters. Gas lines to the meters will be installed now that Highview is complete. 98% of the EPC lighting is completed at Woodlands. The street light at the intersection of Delivery Driveway and Wires Way remains out. We've actually started doing the trench work, waiting on the weather to be more favorable. Item 4 on the football field, to fill the potholes, paving cost in excess of $200,000. We're deferring this until after the EPC solar panel installation. The trench for and the electric lines parallel to the driveways have been completed. Installed the frame for the solar panel carports and foundation work for battery energy storage system in the football field. That's been completed.
Mr. Quigley?
Yes.
So the last 2 days, it's been boiling hot in the Woodlands Auditorium. Can you speak to that?
Yes, we're still working on the controls. 85% of the controls for the building have been done. This room, some of the carrier units, the rooftop units haven't not been completed yet. So what we do, we're manually before the a shower an event, we turn it off, we modulate it by turning it on and off.
At the auditorium or?
At the auditorium, and here, we're just.
Here it's so much better than
Oh, yeah.
a week or so ago.
Here we just crack the window and
We're growing icicles as we sat.
But at the auditorium, we just manually turn the unit on and off.
Okay, and just to be clear, because that has automatic DDC controls.
Yeah, that'll be,
So
that's all part of the building maintenance system.
And that's what's
It won't
not,
be tied in, it's not working
Okay.
properly right now, they haven't tied that one in yet.
okay, so right now, if it's being manually adjusted, it's just manually being adjusted to produce too much heat right now? Because I walked in earlier
Yeah,
today.
we have on and you don't.
After reports from yesterday, and it was boiling hot, and then the fans were turned on. I'm like, well, this seems
Correct, yeah, you want more heat than
Insane.
not enough at this time of year.
right. Okay. Katie McGee has her hand up.
Katie?
Yeah, now that you mentioned the auditorium, that's made me wonder too, Mr. Pugliese, years ago, right? The fans in the ceiling or the rooftop fans or whatever were broken and needed replacement. And I believe they were like not in the EPC. Am I correct? And so they're still not working, right?
I would have to defer to the architects to make sure. I know that they fixed some of them they did not. They did not correct.
Okay, so
A lot of them they did though, like units that hadn't worked ever, like the gym, they hadn't worked in 20, 30 years, those are working now. I'm not sure about the auditorium.
okay.
And then air conditioning,
Air conditioning, no air conditioning.
I mean, no fans or anything. So
The fans added, and those help.
Yeah.
continue.
Yes.
Can I please- I was in the spring, like with the winter spring concert, there were fans, right? There's fans, but they're loud. And Mr. Kennedy's like, sorry, like it's not a great short-term solution. I was wondering if there's any way to suck without those rooftop fans, but maybe, I don't know, you're the engineers. Any other way to strategize and get the air up and out through vents? Are there vents at least? Or I don't know if anyone could pay attention to that. And the other thing is about will that temperature control in the auditorium be adjusted? Do you think it'll be fixed by the 31st when they have the Mandarin Lunar New Year assemblies?
I don't know. I know they're working on it and they're rapidly making adjustments to some of the spaces that were either too cold or too hot.
Mr. Pugliese, I'm sorry, are you, I know you are, but I just for record, are you communicating well with Mr. Smith about the heat so that he knows to let the parents know what's going on?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay, we talked to the mansion, we talked about the BBS report and teacher center, there's been no changes. The bus garage, consider repaving and electric vehicle charging stations in long-term plan. Pretty much need fundraising for that. Science lab audit.
Science Lab 8.
That's nope, that's all I have.
Okay. Speaking of Science Lab 8, okay, an application for aid was sent to Regeneron on November 25th. We came up with a list of private industry potential sources of aid. Most of this is Adonia Manns went off and did some research. And there are, I think, I added in the other places. The BASF and Montefiore and Siemens, the 3 suggestions that we had from other people. At our last meeting, we discussed sending letters of inquiry to these sources. Has there been any progress on this?
We sent one to IBM.
Oh,
Mr. Morton, got me a contact there. That one to IBM.
okay. Adonia, do you want to say anything?
No, I don't have anything to say. No, no, I don't know. Is it worthwhile to maybe see if some of the students, their parents work at some of these companies, or are we privy to any of that? Not so much.
I don't know. How would we?
Only because I know they would know someone who knows someone.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know. What have you guys done in the past, I guess, to reach out to local corporations or?
I think some enterprising staff member and or parent goes and knocks on a door and says, you know, hi Tesla or hi Dannon, and got anything for us? And if they have a policy where they donate a certain amount of money and then they plug in properly and the staff gets enthused, then there are lots of possibilities.
I got you. All right.
So Dannon employees used to come and paint rooms in RJ Bailey, you know, just volunteer work. So yeah.
Okay.
All right, so send out letters. All right, you sent us, I believe you provided a letter that you sent to Regeneron, and so we could look at it as if it were a template.
Yeah, that's what I've been using.
Okay, do you want to show that?
Not catering, but modifying it,
Mhm.
whatever the.
See. Yeah. This one? No.
It wasn't in the packet. That's fine.
Maybe it's.
No, it's BB.
It wasn't in the packet. That's fine.
Okay. No, it was called something, all right, it's not there. Fair enough. Letter. Okay, minutes of the 12/12/24 meeting. Yes, Katie.
Sorry, but Steve, don't you have something to talk about? Is Steve still there?
He just left.
Oh, okay. What was this about what he told me about being with Regeneron and taking a tour of the science labs? Being with a person from Regeneron.
He left.
We discuss it next time.
Yeah, let's discuss that when he's here next time. He has contact and he wants to not frighten the contact. So we
Okay.
only say what we can say, and we have to find out what Steve has arranged is allowed to say.
I didn't realize it wasn't public.
Yeah. Yes, Carol.
I just want to point out, Chris Valen said earlier that the ribbon cutting at Bailey is at 6 o'clock, but the invitation that has been sent out states that it was at 6:30 and the concert would start immediately thereafter.
And that's what I got in my invitation too. So I'm not sure what's happening. Did you get an invitation and it said something else?
I was supposed 6 o'clock somewhere. Isn't there something floating on
The
social
flyer,
media?
the flyer on social media
Yeah.
says ribbon cutting at 6:30, promptly followed by the concert. We did receive a.
I've heard that they were delaying the concert by 15 minutes so we could get through it.
And I know Dr. Iverson was concerned about the time, that's why it was 6:30 and 6:45, so that people could make it because of work schedule.
All right, so it sounds like the preponderance of the evidence is 6:30, but we'll confirm. All right.
Hold on, I wanted to go back to the sources of aid.
Sure.
Is there a way someone from the schools can get in front of these companies too, like a principal or assistant principal? I don't know, I'm just throwing ways out besides putting it on parents. And wouldn't it make sense for someone in admin to kind of go out for coffee with somebody? I don't know, I'm just trying to throw ideas out there, just to say, hey, here's our district, let's talk. I don't know, I'm just.
Well, sure. I mean, your letter of inquiry could say, hey, you wanna contact me, let's do lunch. You can
I
do
mean,
that.
even before that big packet goes out, you know what I mean, just to, I don't know, I just think there's another way to go around this besides written communication, that's all I'm just trying to say. I don't know, let me come back to this.
Principles, all right.
You know, I'm just thinking, because.
I think, if I may,
To
I
build
mean, we do
relationships,
have,
right? And stuff like that.
that's true, but we do have administration reaching out during their busy days, you know, with the packet of information, which is very thorough from what I recall, the information packet in the letter. Saying, but you know, one could argue that we should discuss this as a board on maybe. Why, you know, I myself was one of those parents who reached out to, before Gabriella and friends were on board, I was looking at USTA and those things, and you know, I was one of those people. And you know, when there's opportunities to have conversations,
right,
that's the reason we're also ambassadors for this district, so.
Right.
I'm not, yes, admin is being a good partner in sending out this information and making these requests, and I do thank you, I know that took time. And I do know that when we have been able to hook up companies with schools, you know, the principals, and just like you said, including past projects, not just this, have been very welcoming of forming partnerships with different companies. You know, you mentioned earlier, I think Tesla, Bailey, and you know, Dannon and BASF, I think has done some stuff with, you know, there have been partnerships over the years, and the principals are always amenable to meeting people. But there's, I think, you know, it's another thing, and I think the more hands that are reaching out, including the board, including parents, including admin, the better.
Yeah.
So I don't think it should just be on one person's lap.
No, not one person, but it's opportunities to network, and I think without networking, sometimes face to face kind of limits you from the opportunities you actually can have if you speak verbally sometimes. That's all I'm just. I've noticed that in my experience.
There's also, we know there's a small district. A lot of things on people's plates, so as far as priority setting and how time is going, I think that we need to make sure we're striking a balance.
Yeah, no, I got you.
And things that we're asking for is for what, for money?
Funding.
Funding, yes.
Money.
Well, could be money, could be, oh, do you have old equipment that you are going to
Something
give
like that too.
Montefiore? Or, you know, and they say, yes, we have this, that's being replaced by a newer version. And we donate it. Oh, we will gladly accept your donation. So that, yes.
You know, outside of facilities, it could be, you know, mentorship or internship opportunities for WISE or other programs that we have in the schools. You know, making those connections is worthwhile no matter what the immediate concern is, making those partnerships that could come to fruition in different ways through the years is worthwhile. So to that point, maybe I'm gonna come here, let's move this then. You're talking about it for community engagement committee, guys.
Oh, yeah, that's a
You
good
have
point.
plans, I think, for your, in the beginning stages of planning an event, you could invite,
I could.
and that could be your outreach networking opportunity.
Absolutely.
All right, put it back on your plates.
I like that. Thank you. Yeah, no, it's like a-
Sorry.
We are on the CDC too.
We are. We have a meeting soon, don't we?
Another one?
Okay. All right, let's, are there any other questions? Let's look at the minutes of the last meeting. They're in the middle of the packet, for those of you hard copy packets. Did you bring up the minutes? Okay. Look, did I misspell anybody's name? Okay, the meeting was delayed by a special board meeting that took longer than expected. So we started out at eight o'clock. And went to about 9, yeah. Okay. Status. As of December, and that's the BBS status report. And there was our suggestions for the.
Okay, I move that we approve the minutes. Yep. Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
Approve the minutes as presented.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Those opposed? Minutes. Check.
Now.
Other concerns?
Yeah, I have a question about the soccer field.
Okay.
I know that's gonna be in the back, but did you ever went to assess the fields? And Mr. Puglisi, you said you were gonna work with Mr. McCoy, and that was like a year ago?
Yes, Mr. McCoy, I know he's reached out to Westchester Soccer Club, I believe, and he's had some conversations with them.
You're just on
And
the
that-
field at Woodlands?
Yeah,
Woodlands
the
Daily
soccer
Tip?
field here, no, the soccer field here, because we have 3 teams, 3 boys, and then the girls have 2 soccer teams, you know. And then there was a conflict that sometimes they don't have enough space for practice, but I know that's not a priority right now. But I just wanna see if,
Yeah, Mr. McCoy is continuing to have conversations with them, now that I know.
How about irrigation and or flattening the field?
There was, this club is, he's working with them for assistance. And possibly a donation.
No, I'm glad you brought up soccer fields, because the one at Bailey, that grass is really, it's very shabby. So
Is
what
it
do we
being
do
used
with
as a
that?
parking lot?
The soccer?
no.
I don't think.
If they
so.
prevented, okay, don't shake your head. There were years it was used as a parking lot. Is that now prohibited?
What was used as a parking? Oh, no, I haven't seen cars on there, no. I know that
I
it
think
does,
when
it does
there's
have,
an
it
event,
does have
they want-
irrigation that works. The soil's kind of lousy,
So like for back, sorry, because there's 2 conversations happening and what you're both saying is important. So what I want to know is if a concert or back to school night or an event, are cars not prohibited from parking there or are people directing them to park there?
but that I don't know, I,
Sometimes I saw the parking there.
Really?
Because
Even on the side, or the sidewalk,
Right.
they go on top of it.
Because to your point, because just in case nobody heard, we do have an irrigation system there.
Correct.
And if you park on top of it, you're destroying an investment
correct. And that irrigation system does work too, but it's,
for now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're saying give them orange cones?
I didn't know that cars were
Police
parking
state
on there,
or-
but that's, I.
They were
Yeah.
not for a while. I don't know what's happening
Okay.
now. They were, it was like standard practice, and then they weren't. But I don't know what's happening this year.
Okay.
So, and yes, it does mean that when there are big events, people have to park in the neighborhoods, and that's super annoying to everybody, both the neighbors and our parents trying to get to the events. It just means, show up before 6:30 next Wednesday for the concert.
And there's not enough parking.
I always park across the street
Yeah.
and use the crosswalks.
But what, I know the soccer field over there, yeah, the grass is, so that's the problem with maintenance, like no one does maintenance to the fields?
Well, what happens is, you know, when we had the work over the summer, the field actually came back, it just overused, they beat that field to death. It's, you know, any field that's used too much, it needs time to recover, and it just doesn't get the time to recover. Those kids are playing on that all day long, every day. When we did have the roofing and there was nobody there for the summer, the grass actually came back and it hadn't looked that good ever, people were saying. But that's part of the problem is, you know, everybody plays on it every day. The kids are out there all day.
Overused.
Yeah.
Very much. The other thing, did you guys talk about gym, how we don't have limited, well, how the gym space is limited here, so sometimes teams are practicing, not really, did we explore maybe looking at the other schools to utilize their gym for practices and things like that? Is that discussion here or not?
It's not really facilities discussion.
It's not.
It's more of a use
If you want to
discussion.
Build an
and you're
extra,
talking about
an
transportation
extra
costs.
gym would be this.
Right.
Right, okay, so then I think in our last meeting, did we talk about like a tent or something to use it? I don't know, something.
A little bit of pavement outside.
Yeah, was that? Something like that. I gotta go back.
But before I forget, when would you have like a, an answer for like if something is gonna happen with the soccer fields? Yeah, we're gonna.
Okay, maybe I could, I'll reach out to Mr. McCoy, maybe he could attend our,
I
an upcoming meeting.
it's not gonna happen until the spring or later.
Yeah,
In my conversation.
yeah, in winter time, okay. So I could get an update from him, maybe we can have him come to, one of the meetings in the spring to find out, how he's progressing within his talks.
Facilities. Yeah, and we won't keep him till the end. Katie,
Hi, yeah, what's up with the ice and slush on Pinewood Road? Looks like coming into our campus. Is that water coming from our campus onto that street?
Some of that water is coming from our campus. It's actually coming out of a Verizon manhole about 8 or 10 feet off of the property line. The first two houses, as you continue down Pinewood, they have sump pumps. And you can see that, the one has a hose, one has a pump in the yard, and you can see the ice across their yards. Because the stream that runs behind their house, I don't know where it goes, but they must have some water issues over there.
that's the same spot where the water main leak was that practically filled up the basement with the first person on Pinewood on that.
Oh, really? Okay. There is a stream you can see running, it goes from the pond, it continues, and that goes through the backyard. You can see the cattails, and I don't know where the stream goes from there, but I know that you can see the sump pumps constantly going throughout the day, further down the street, contributing to all that ice down there. We do have some coming out of the manhole from Verizon, the Verizon manhole. And we were just trying to assess, where the water's coming from, but we have to get Verizon to pump out their manhole because it's their manhole,
Yeah.
anytime you deal with water and,
Yep.
low voltage, it's still electricity.
Okay,
Okay.
So,
all right.
Thank you.
So does anyone else have anything they want to discuss?
Oh, let me have a question that I want.
Yes?
If we finish the project for the water, so we don't have any more money for any other project, right? If you guys approve it.
No, there's a little bit of money. So 1.6 came in and if we spend 1.4, then there's 0.2. Plus the little bit of money that we've got in the repair reserve and the, let's see. You provided that information, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
See.
700, little more than $700,000
$700,000.
repair reserve, but that can just be used for repairs. And there's 451,000 left over after the vote. Not in the capital reserve on
All right.
Page 2. Right, so 3 sources of funding, 1.6 million, 451,000, 792,000. Okay. Other questions? Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We're adjourned at 8:36 p.m.
Good night, everyone.
Everybody.
Good night.
Hi, everybody.